Thank you for joining us for our annual video series from the International Symposium on Human Identification. Today we have Pamela Marshall with us. Pamela, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. For the past 4 years, I've been the director of the Master's in Forensic Science and Law program at Duquesne University in Pittsburgh, as well as the director of the Cyril H. Wecht Institute of Forensic Science and Law. And previous to that, I was director at a historically black college down in New Orleans. Switched to academics probably around the time I started getting my PhD, but also have about 5 years of casework experience, and so really love what I do.
Oh, wonderful. Well, I'm so happy you're here to tell us a little bit more about it.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you. Let's talk about your session. You co-chaired a workshop that everybody was buzzing about. Can you tell us what that was?
Sure. It was titled You Deserve a Cookie, and it was all about the challenges facing really new leaders as well as those who are kind of seasoned but are facing some current challenges with new generations and dealing with different generations across the crime lab.
Wonderful. Now, I think it was addressing the gap between analyst and leadership and as people move up through the different levels. How did you do that with everybody?
Yeah, so really, I think our panel, we all brought kind of different shades, different perspectives, each of us that have had kind of different histories throughout our own experiences in the lab. And so really just trying to make sure that that transition from bench science to management and leadership roles becomes a seamless transition.
Yeah, I think that can be hard when you're used to working autonomously and then suddenly everything is different.
You're managing your friends, so you have some of that going on. As scientists, we're never really trained into how to do evaluations, how to have some of those difficult conversations that are so important, as well as just dealing with what is pretty much a common theme across any job right now, which is time, resources, and money.
Oh, absolutely, especially over the last year and a half.
Of course, yes. Budgets have dried up, and then with people kind of looking at the work from home perspective, some might be tempted to leave, and so other issues that have cropped up too is just really remotivating and trying to boost morale amongst your ranks.
Absolutely. What are some of the unique challenges that people face? What did they share with you?
Again, really some very common themes. I think the major ones were motivating staff. We really tried to get to the heart of why all of us are in this position, which is to serve. So Julie provided a great overview of servant leadership, what that truly means. Our mission at Duquesne is very simple. It's serving God through serving students so that they in turn can serve others. And I believe that really at the heart of every crime lab, you have that same type of mission. We are serving others every single day, and so really just trying to find the joy again. I am in an environment where my students help me find that joy every day. They're so excited. They're so hungry for a job in forensic science. So I'm able to see that every day, and I think once you're in a lab setting, doing that bench science every day, that joy becomes a little bit more difficult to find.
That's a really beautiful way to look at it from a mission-centric and the joy piece. I like that a lot.
Yes, yeah.
So behavior and communication are probably extremely important, and I know you did a little disc work with the group. How was that?
It was wonderful. I'm not a disc expert by any means, but about 99% of our problems can all be solved through communication. And so really just trying to see and trying to understand what our own behavioral styles are, as well as trying to understand the behavioral styles of others. So keeping in mind that there's no one behavioral style that's the best or right to have. We need all four of those styles to have growth and diversity within our own team cultures, but really making sure that as you're on this trek through understanding your own behavior, you're helping others find their voice, because that's really what's going to drive the future within your own team.
Absolutely. So I'm sure people shared a lot. Were there any themes that you found? Were there things you spent a little bit more time on? Anything surprising?
Nothing really surprising. I think again, this was why the whole panel was there. We are very comfortable, very familiar with some of these things that we thought we would see quite a bit. I think the biggest surprise is we assumed, and wrongly so, that the majority of forensic DNA leaders would probably be more of a type D dominant behavioral style, whereas the majority of our group attending the workshop, they were actually the conscientious style, the C group. So you'll see them around this week wearing little yellow stickers on their tags. Yeah. So we tried to brand them a little bit this week. But yeah, I mean, I think that was the biggest surprise. But overall, we tried to divest them of the fact that we weren't going to be giving out free time this week. We weren't going to be giving out free money. Those are the biggest two things. So really trying to come to terms with the fact that you're never going to have time for everything, but you really do have to make sure that you take time for your employees, because they're the ones that you're serving ultimately. If you serve your staff well, and those who are under your leadership well, they will then in turn take care of the victims and the suspects and the customers that come into our everyday lives.
It sounds like a wonderful approach. Yeah. Did you get into mentoring and peer group support at all?
I have. So I think one of the biggest practical takeaways we were really trying to offer this group, not only from the perspective of, hey, we've got so many in attendance, start to build your own network, but really trying to remember who you really envision as one of the best supervisors you've had in your career, and trying to emulate some of those same qualities. Looking back and seeing who provided that encouragement, who provided that support, how did they deliver clear and defined expectations for your job. And I think when you look back, we all have someone that comes to mind immediately that we really enjoyed working for and working with.
Wonderful. Anything else about the class or the workshop that you want to tell us about?
We just had a wonderful time. I was really honored to be amongst the group. I learned from every single presentation as well. So I think that's also the goal, is to tell people this is a lifelong learning process. We're not all perfect managers by any means, but really just trying to help, once again, those who are really new to management, as well as those facing some of the challenges that come with the day-to-day life of this job.
Yes. How did you get interested in the field? I'm always curious.
In forensic DNA specifically?
Yes, yeah.
You're not going to believe it, but I was actually a pre-med student. I had already taken my MCAT, really had a lifelong dream of working with children and being a pediatrician. And in 1994, we had the O.J. Simpson case. And it was the first case in my lifetime that had been televised from start to finish, the entire court process. I joke with my students now, this is pre-DVR, pre-Netflix, pre-Hulu, pre-anything. You know, we had the old VHS tapes. You could only hold about 8 hours of content on. So I would literally race home in between my classes every day and watch Henry Lee talk about blood on socks. Really fell in love with even the discussions on RFLP, believe it or not, but really kind of just changed the track of my career, and I have no regrets. I haven't looked back since.
Wow. You know, we had Robin, who testified on some of the DNA evidence in the trial,
yes,
with us one year, and it was fantastic to talk
wonderful.
to her. Yeah,
she's a wonderful role model that I have in my life as well.
Wonderful. Very good. Do you want to talk a little bit about your work? What's surprising, challenging, what you're working on, if you can share, that type of thing?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I think that the academic side's a little different, but yet we still face some of the same challenges. Do I have enough time? I currently have 155 students in my program. So we're a 4+1. We're the country's only 4+1 program. So my students come in as freshmen, stay with me for 5 years to earn their master's degree in forensic science and law. The best parts of my day are always when I get to see my students and mentor them. And I think we've got some really exciting research, not only in the field of DNA, but because they cover every discipline, I'm actually mentoring some pathology projects with 3D printed hyoid bones. I've got a student that I'm mentoring that's doing ghost gun work, so she's 3D printing some ghost guns, as well as just all of the various DNA projects that we have going on. So keeps the challenge going. I wear a lot of different hats, which is fun for me, and I prefer to have a life where nothing gets monotonous, and I like that everyday challenge.
The 3D printing sounds fascinating.
It's amazing, and what I love about those specific projects are those were student-driven. Those students came to me with those ideas on their own. The hyoid project actually came out of real life with Jeffrey Epstein and kind of looking at these battling expert opinions on suicide versus homicide. And he came to me and said, hey, I just don't understand why nobody understands fracture patterns and hyoids. Can we do something? And I said, let's try. And we don't know if it's going to work, but that's the other great thing about research.
I think that makes it so much fun.
Yes. And that's why I tell my students, have fun with it. We don't know if it's going to work or not, but even a wrong answer is going to take you in a right direction.
Right, you can't learn unless you fail and then eventually succeed.
Exactly. And I think a lot of us, if we look back, we've learned more from our failures than our successes.
Absolutely, yes. Probably go back to some of the first videos and see some of mine. What advice would you give to students or somebody thinking about entering the field?
Oh gosh, to have fun, to keep those questions, and just to know that you can make a difference. I think when I was their age, you get the tendency to believe that everything's been created, there's nothing new. We see these wonderful vendors that are telling us about these products that they're creating, and you wonder where your footprint is going to be on this profession. And so that's what I would tell them. There's enough room in the world of forensics and the world of forensic DNA where we can all have our own piece.
Oh, that's just wonderful. Thank you so much,
Thank
Pam.
you.
Last question. Have you ever been to ISHI?
I have, yes.
So.
Yes, several times. What I love about ISHI, aside from the fact that it's so hyper-focused on DNA, is really, again, you have this wonderful blend every year of bringing in the pioneers of the field, as well as these new students, new graduates that are, have been provided this opportunity by their labs to come to their first ISHI, and that excitement every year keeps me excited.
Wonderful. Any thoughts on this year since we're on day 3-ish now?
Yes, it's been wonderful. I think, looking back at lessons learned yesterday, all of the vendors that come and provide their expertise on the new, what's coming, what our current approaches are, but really what's going to drive the future of forensic DNA is so important for all of us to keep our eyes on, for sure.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your experience and everything about the workshop. We really, really appreciate you being here and also taking time out.
Oh, thank you so much, Laura, for this opportunity. I appreciate it.
Enjoy the rest of the symposium.
Thank you.